ready? Okay. Can I have your attention, please? Anyone in the hallway? We're going to be starting. So if people could take their seats so we can get going. We have a full program. My name is Betsy Fawns. I am the first vice president of the League of Women Voters. I want to thank you for coming tonight to our spring 2015 Falmouth League of Women Voters Candidates Forum. The League of Women Voters is a trusted, nonpartisan political organization that encourages informed and active participation in government, works to increase understanding of major public policy issues, and influences public policy through education and advocacy. Our members do the hands-on work to safeguard democracy. We are directly involved in shaping important issues to keep our communities strong. If you are interested in learning more about the League of Women Voters, I would encourage you to pick up some of the League's information on the tables out there, or visit our website, which is www.lwvf.org. And men, please, you are not excluded. We're more than welcome to have you join as well. Casting an informed vote is one way all of us can participate in government. Tonight's Candidates Forum will give you a chance to inform yourself by listening to what the candidates have to say and by asking them questions. Our moderator is Sean Cochran, who is from WCAI, and we thank him for volunteering his services tonight.
Hi, well, thank you, Betsy, and welcome to the Falmouth Candidates Night. I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for inviting me and helping us all add to our understanding of who's running for office and what they stand for. As she said, I'm Sean Corcoran, and I'm the news director at WCAI, which is the public radio station in Woods Hole. It's my pleasure to be here and to serve as moderator. We're eager to begin at first, but let me just go through some of the ways, the ground rules, and the way things are going to work. In just a few minutes, we're going to invite the candidates in the non-contested races to stand up from where they are in the audience and make a 1-minute presentation. They'll tell us probably who they are and why they're running, probably. And let's talk about the timings. We'll do 1 minute for that. And we have a team of timekeepers here in the front row center. That's right. And one's going to use the stopwatch, and the other will hold up the sign. Right? And so once that sign goes up that you've reached the end of your time, that I ask the candidates to finish their sentence and then stop speaking. And I'll try to gently stop the candidates if they go past the time limit, and I'm hoping no one will make me get too aggressive on that. I'm no Mindy Todd, but I can lay down the law if I need to. After we hear from the candidates in the non-contested races, we'll move on to the contested races, Planning Board, the Library Board of Trustees, the School Committee, and the Board of Selectmen. These are the races in which we'll have some questions. So I have questions that have been put together by the League's Voter Service Committee, and we'll do 3 or 4 of those questions, and each candidate will have 1 minute to respond. So they'll each respond to the same question. We'll try to rotate things so the same person isn't starting in the beat first over and over and things like that. Then we'll have closing statements from all the candidates, and those will be 2 minutes long. And we also expect to give audience members the opportunity to ask questions, and candidates will have 1 minute to respond to those questions. If you do have a question, we ask that you go to this microphone here so that the folks watching at home on FCTV can hear you. And please direct the question to all the candidates, not any one candidate. Now, we're not looking for any lengthy statements or preambles or anything like that, and of course nothing personal or argumentative, anything like that. Just ask the question and try to pick a question that hasn't been asked before, and we'll give the candidates an opportunity to answer. Okay, we're almost done. So you should know that when you go to the polls on May 15th, there will be a ballot question there. And we're not debating the ballot question tonight. We're not really discussing it, though it is on your agenda. We're just going to concentrate on the candidates running for office. But you should know, in that question, it's not written there, but I want to tell you, they want me to tell you that the total amount in that question is $3.95 million. That's $3.95 million. Or after state reimbursement, it would cost $2.56 million. And that's after state reimbursement. Okay. So I think we're ready to go. We expect this will last until about 9 o'clock and maybe a little longer if the interest is there and we're on a roll. So let's begin with the uncontested races. And let me get that out here. Okay, is Representative Dave Vieira here? And there he is. Dave, could you can just stay there and that's right. You make a good point, Dave.
I get 60 seconds every 3 years, so I want to make sure folks at home get a chance to hear me. I'm Dave Vieira, town moderator here in Falmouth, and I just want to ask folks to come out and vote on May 19th. On May 15th, if you come, the polls will be closed. So please come out and vote on May 19th. I ask for your vote again. I've served for 16 and a half years as the town moderator in Falmouth, and it's been an honor and a privilege to be your town moderator. And this week, the one gentleman in the history of the Commonwealth that beat me to be the youngest town moderator, John Walsh from Pembroke. He got elected when he was 21 years old. I got elected when I was 23 years old. He just passed away this week, but he served for 59 years as the Pembroke town moderator. So with God willing and the creek don't rise, and with your support, I'd like to serve 59 and a half years as the Falmouth town moderator. And to do that, I'll need your vote in this election. And one of the things that I'd like to just mention, a new initiative that we started working with some of our town meeting members in the town clerk's office and the finance office, is a series of trainings for town meeting members. And I look forward to expanding that. We did finance this year, and we will do additional trainings in the years to come. Again, I'm Dave Vieira, your town moderator, and I look forward to being reelected in May. Thank you.
Thank you, David. And thanks for the correction, the 19th. We've got it. And Holly Wilson for the Falmouth Housing. Hey, Holly. Yes.
I'm Holly Wilson, and I'm running for the Falmouth Housing Authority. I grew up in Falmouth and pretty much moved off Cape when I was about college aged and lived in and around Boston and Chicago for 27 years. About 8 years ago, my husband and I moved down to Falmouth year-round. The last 3.5 years, I've been involved with the Affordable Housing Committee. I'm currently the chair. And we spearheaded a housing demand study, which many of you probably have heard about. I would encourage you to at least read the executive summary of that report. That came out in September. We followed that with a roundtable, community roundtable event, which was very well attended and I believe successful. And we have a lot of plans going forward. I was fortunate today to be able to attend Smarter Cape Summit 5, which was all about housing. People from all over the Cape came to talk about housing. It was very interesting, a lot of very good ideas. Governor Baker came and gave the closing remarks and answered a lot of questions. It was excellent, and I hope to get your vote. I'm running for an uncontested spot, but if I get a lot of votes, then I know I have a lot of support, and maybe I'll work all the harder. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And Susan Augusta, who's running for a 2-year term on the school committee, non-contested.
Hi, I'm Susan Augusta, Precinct 9. I've been on the Falmouth School Committee for 24 years and a town meeting member from Precinct 9 for the past 36 years. I first got involved on school committee when my children were in the Falmouth schools. I'm now fortunate enough to have some grandchildren, and one in particular will be attending the Falmouth schools within the next year. He actually will be the 5th generation, John Augusta, to attend the East Falmouth School. I'm very proud of the Falmouth schools. Through the years, I've watched a good system work towards becoming a great system. And I want to work with the administration and the staff as we move the school system even to a higher level. The designation of 2 level 1 schools, our high school and our Lawrence School, as designated by the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, is a level that most towns strive for. So thank you very much.
Susan, thank you very much. Yes, we would like to invite town meeting representatives who are running, candidates for town meeting representatives, and who happen to be here, if you could just introduce yourself. Yes, just come right up to the microphone. Just say hello.
I'm Ron Zweig, and I'm running for town meeting member in Precinct 1. Please vote for me. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Doug Jones. I'm running for re-election to town meeting member in Precinct 1.
Mary Harris, I'm running for re-election in Precinct 5, and I'm also a member of the Finance Committee.
It's me again, Holly Wilson. I'm running for Precinct 1 Town Meeting Member. Appreciate your vote. Thanks.
Deborah Winograd, candidate in Precinct 9 for a one-year unexpired term.
Catherine Bumpus, Precinct 1, running for town meeting member re-election. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Walter Crotty, Precinct 3. I'm running for town meeting member for the first time as well as for the school committee. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Bob Baker, and I'm running in Precinct 4 for town meeting representative. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Melissa Keefe. I'm running for Precinct 4 town meeting. I'm also running for school committee, one-year term. Thank you. Vote for us.
My name is Brian Keefe, and I'm running for Precinct 4, town meeting member. Excuse me, and thank you. Thank you for this opportunity.
Hi, I'm Linda Toby. I'm from Precinct 4. I'm running for re-election as town meeting member in Precinct 4. I appreciate your support. Thank you.
Hi, Bill Dinan, running town meeting member, Precinct 5. I've been a resident full-time for 6 weeks, but I've been down here for 16. Just moved here recently full-time. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, we're on a roll. Let's move right to planning board, the contested races. So if the planning board members could come up, take note of where your placard is and try to sit behind it. So of course, for planning board, we have, this is 3 candidates for 2 openings, and Douglas Brown is running for re-election. David Haddad is running, and Robert O'Leary is running a candidate for re-election as well. Is it everyone? Okay. Are we good? So let's begin, and we'll go through. We have 3 questions, and you'll each have a shot at it. And Mr. Brown, let's begin with you. There you are over there. How should the planning board implement the housing section of the local comprehensive plan?
Well, we're in the process of doing that now. And it's a constant updating of the local comprehensive plan, which is always getting updated, and we implement it as we go along. And right now we're considering some zoning changes to allow for multifamily housing, and we're looking at ways to ease the restrictions on affordable type apartments and in-law apartments. So we're looking at ways to do it as we go along.
And Mr. Haddad, the same question, how should the planning board implement the housing section of the local comprehensive plan?
Thanks, Sean, and I just wanted to thank the League of Women Voters for inviting me here tonight to speak in front of these folks. Like Holly just mentioned a few minutes ago, the Affordable Housing Roundtable was a good start to the affordable housing, but I think the planning board now needs to find some creative ways where we can increase our housing inventory. Multifamily zoned areas, RKG Associates, consultant, the town's consultant, said that that land is, diminishing, or there isn't enough of that, so we need to find other creative ways. One of those ways can be the multi-use, using multi-use ways to do it when we have business redevelopment, like what was done on East Main Street, and hopefully that gets continued east. We can add condos, apartments, that sort of thing. I think that'd be a good start anyway.
And Mr. Leary.
Boy, it's tough to be the third guy on this question here.
We'll be there.
I'm on the local comprehensive plan committee, and as we've hashed out the policies and the goals and everything, we then work on the action items. And what Doug and Dave have mentioned are some of those action items where we are seriously looking at rezoning, having different overlay districts. Business redevelopment is a good way to add housing. I know there are some things in the pipeline now along Main Street and East Main that could address some of those issues. And we need to also take a good look at the housing demand study. There are a lot of good suggestions in that as well.
Okay, the next question. We'll begin with you, Mr. Haddad. I'm saying your name correctly, right?
Yes, sir.
Oh, good. What do you see as the planning board's role in preparing the town for sea level rise?
Good question, Sean. One of the things town meeting approved, I think it was in the fall 2014 town meeting, was a coastal resiliency element. That had to do with, you know, what do we do, storm-related damage, flooding, that sort of thing. And that dovetails right into the FEMA zones and the new maps that are coming forth. We need to address those situations. I want to sit down with the other planning members and the town planner to go over what do we do about houses that potentially could be up on stilts 50, 60 feet in the air. That's not something I don't think we want to be looking at, but it might be something we need to deal with. If that's the case, maybe we go for a smaller structure, that sort of thing. But we definitely have to plan for that.
Mr. Leary.
Could you repeat the question?
Yes. What do you see as the planning board's role in preparing the town for sea level rise?
We need to work hand in hand with the other departments in town, because we're not only dealing with housing, but we're also dealing with infrastructure. We have roads, we have bridges, we have sewer lines, things like that. There are different strategies and ways of dealing with catastrophic events that we need to have plans that are in place and have the capital there in place, rather than constantly working as a Band-Aid. When something happens, we just react to it. We want to become more proactive. And we can do that through different initiatives, whether it be zoning for houses that are in the flood zone or the velocity zones, or whether it's moving our infrastructure away from those areas.
Mr. Brown, what do you see as the planning board's role in preparing the town for sea level rise?
And so our role is to be prepared and have a plan in place. Currently, when we have a problem at the bike path, for instance, what we recently had to repave the existing bike path with no real improvement. We can only replace in kind what's there because we don't have a real long-term plan in place. We need to have a real discussion about the philosophy of whether or not we want to maintain roads like the Surf Drive Beach Road and maintain access there. Many experts tell us that it's futile and we should just give up and give up the coast. I think that's where this is a good reason why the planning board is a political elected position, because we have to have this philosophical discussion. Do we want to just give up, or do we want to fight against the tide and try to maintain our roadway? So it's a lot of work that we're going to have to do, but we need to have a plan in place so that when we're spending $2 million to fix the road, if it's feasible to raise the road, the plan should be in place. If it's not feasible, then maybe we shouldn't spend the money. So.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Leary, let's begin with you for the third question. What zoning changes do you think the planning board should support?
In relation to coastal resilience, or?
This is just the questions they gave me, so you can interpret it how you like. What zoning changes do you think the planning board should support? No, I don't think you have to refer to the earlier questions. No.
Well, I think any zoning changes that are going to alleviate some of the problems we have. Housing being one of them. We need to change the zoning to address that. We need to change zoning to address maybe transportation issues that we're having, where we need to look at other ways of possibly making the atmosphere more business friendly in town. We do have some zoning districts in place that are very good for this town. The business redevelopment zone is one of them. So there are a number of different zoning laws that are in place that could be tweaked a little bit to make them a little bit better. But I think anything that addresses a need, and zoning is constantly changing. I mean, it's constantly evolving. If it wasn't, we wouldn't have a need for a zoning board of appeals. So I think as we go along, just looking at the issues as they come along and being flexible enough and open-minded enough to be able to change them if we need to change them.
Thank you. Mr. Brown, what zoning changes do you think the planning board should support?
Making the in-law apartment easier to qualify for on smaller lots, There's basically, I think we need to reduce a lot of the regulation we have. As we're becoming more congested, there's a need for more options and more latitude with the regulations.
Okay. Mr. Haddad, I'll say it again. What zoning changes do you think the planning board should support?
Thanks, Sean.
Sure.
I think it was spring town meeting 2012 that the town voted to appropriate $35,000 to have a full review of the bylaws. I think that's the first thing we have to do. I know we've tried to do that, but it seems like the plan department, it's got stagnated somewhere. There really hasn't been any movement on that. That's first and foremost. It's a document that has a lot of contradictions in it. It's not user-friendly. So before we start adding more to it, that's first and foremost. But they touched on a couple things, but while I was on the zoning board, one of the things that popped up a lot in the recent past was historic preservation. People would come to the board, they'd speak on historic preservation, and it seemed like every board they went to, they said, it's not in my purview. We gotta develop some bylaws to protect the character of the town and our structures. So I think that'd be one of the ones that really need a good looking at. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, those are the questions we have. Let's go to the 2-minute closing statements before we go to the audience for any questions that the audience might have. And let's see, Mr. Leary, why don't you begin, if that's okay?
First, I want to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum this evening. My name is Bob Leary, and I'm seeking re-election to the Falmouth Planning Board. I've always been willing to volunteer my time whenever my help has been requested, as I currently volunteer on a number of organizations and committees. So 6 years ago, when I was asked to volunteer to fill the vacancy, I was more than willing to do that. I love this town, and I want to help to maintain it to be a beautiful, vibrant place to live and work. Planning and the ability to envision what can be done and are essential to this happening. I currently serve on the Planning Board's Local Comprehensive Plan Subcommittee, and I've become well-versed in topics such as coastal resiliency, housing, public infrastructure, transportation, complete streets, water quality, historic preservation. And our hopes is that this will result in some concrete changes. I've also worked on the wind turbine and light industrial C zoning bylaws, and that's provided me with a lot of experience to move forward on some of these initiatives. We're also entering a new phase of redevelopment. It's already happening at Davisville and T-Ticket at Davis Straits with the CVS project. That was a project that I was kind of tested, my baptism under fire. There were a lot of things that I did not like about it. I dug my heels in, I stuck to it, and I think the result, although not completely what I would like, has been better than what we would have. The other caveat to that is design review is now under the purview of the Planning Board when it comes to architectural features. I think we can all agree that Falmouth is a beautiful and unique part of the world. It's actually one of the few towns you can see from space. And I feel a strong stewardship towards this. As a planner, I try and balance this need for Falmouth to prosper and grow while retaining our core identity. It's only through a clear vision and careful planning that Falmouth can retain its character, provide opportunity for all our citizens of all ages, and still remain economically resilient and vibrant. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Haddad, your 2-minute closing.
Okay, thank you. Thanks again, folks, for coming out. For those that don't know me, I'm David Haddad. I'm a local kid. Grew up in Falmouth, been here all my life, raised a family here, got married here, own a home. Myself, my wife, and my 2 children went through the Falmouth school system, graduated from Falmouth High School, still live in town, and I want to see this town, I want to be a part of seeing this town move forward, create the roadmap so this town does stay unique and true to its heritage. I spent 14 years as a town meeting member, Precinct 2 and currently in Precinct 9. As I alluded to earlier, I was on the zoning board for 4 years, the last year as its chair in 2014. And I just want to see our natural resources protected for, people to come here for tourism's sake, for us to live here. This is a unique place, and I want to keep it as such. I want to be part of the roadmap that keeps Falmouth straight ahead. But like I said before, I do want to be a part of getting that bylaw review done. I think that's really important. I want to go district by district to see how the goals are being met, see if they are creating new housing bylaws, protecting our history, just to keep Falmouth the way it is. I think that's real important. And I'd appreciate your vote May 19th for David Haddad for Planning Board. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Brown.
I've grown up here too all my life. I grew up on Shorewood Drive in East Falmouth, and I've been on a town meeting since 2003. I served on the Falmouth Housing Trust and the Town Building Committee. I'm a member of the board of the East Falmouth Village Association. I'm very involved in town issues, so I think I'm pretty knowledgeable about our town. And I really like my job on the planning board. I find it very interesting. It's a good group of people. We don't always agree on everything, but we work pretty well together. I think our future with the coastal resiliency is huge and very important. I've been doing quite a bit of research on it and learning about it. I have some opinions of my own, but I'm still looking for more information. We have a lot of zoning changes, as we've been discussing. We got to make a lot of room for some more affordable housing, which has really come to light. I have ideas on that, which some of them were already being implemented now, and I think I can do a lot of good work here. So I got a long way to go, and I'm ready to do more.
Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. Are there any questions from the audience? You just step right up to the microphone. We'll take one or two. We'll take two.
I'd like to know your view and some steps that might be taken with regard to the following. At the Cape Cod Housing Summit this morning, there was a lot of discussion about how onerous it is for builders to do smart millennial planning or good community housing projects. So I'd like to know what you think in terms of how it can be less expensive, more expeditious, so that we can attract more good builders to those projects.
Mr. Brown, would you like to field that first?
I think the establishment of the multifamily housing district would be one good start. And as I mentioned previously, just a general review of our zoning and how difficult it is to fit in, which is one of the things I noticed early on. It's difficult to fit in these affordable accessory apartments, which is an important part that we're missing. We have a lot of affordable apartments in town that are just not really on the books. And if we had a process where people weren't afraid to come forward and get these things in place, we'd realize we have more affordable housing. But the multifamily one is big. I don't agree that there's not a lot of places left for it. And I agree with David's idea about the East Main Street redevelopment. Although some people are opposed to the large structures so close to the road in East Main Street, they're not really used to it. But the concept is Main Street's going to grow. Your growth should be in your central downtown area. So that's my feeling on that.
Mr. Leary?
It does start with zoning, and that's the first step. The other thing is we need to make the permitting process a little smoother. We have all these hurdles that we have to pass, and if we can smooth out some of those, it'd make it a little bit easier. Not only are we dealing with the state and 40B and in the local town local town boards, we also have to be aware that there is not a very good indexing of what we have as affordable housing in this town. And that some of these that are deed restricted to affordable do have an expiration date, and we really need to look into that and change that.
Okay. And Mr. Haddad?
Thank you. Yes, I'd like to promote accessory apartments. That would take some of the burden off our 40B developers and, add to our housing inventory. But we need to have that multi-use concept in mind. I do think we need to use that. The Cape Cod Commission said that's a better way to transition from our residential areas into our commercial areas, and I agree with them. I think that's a good step to doing that. But when it does come to the builders, streamlining is something that's needed. Myself and others on the zoning board, when we had our joint meeting with the Selectmen a few years back, we talked about streamlining the process, and for some reason just gets bogged down with these boards. You know, everybody wants to come back and revise the plan and come back with more information. But so that definitely has to be done. But like I said before, we got to go zone by zone, district by district to see how we all mesh with one another.
Okay. And the next question from the audience.
Hello, thanks for coming out tonight. I really appreciate it. I can see this is going to be a difficult decision for me, and that's why I'm asking this question, certainly not to put anyone on the spot. But I realize incumbency has the advantage of detailed knowledge of the proceedings for the office we're considering here, and so there's a certain disadvantage to challenging incumbency. I would like to ask plainly, because I didn't get it out of the previous questions, how does each candidate feel they are differentiated from their opponents, and how would the board be a different place if they were there rather than somebody else?
Okay, try that one. Mr. Haddad?
Thank you, Peter. Got us now? Can you hear me?
I'm sorry, go right ahead.
Oh,
yes.
thank you. Peter, thank you for the question. I don't know if this is working, but I'm sure you can hear me. Clearly, I come at this from a zoning point of view. Like I said, I've been on the zoning board for 4 years. I learned a lot. I listened to the public. I do my work there. I put in a lot of hours. I do, 2 site visits. I'm spending a lot of time in the office. I talk to our administrators, our professional staff, pour through all the files, see what's in there. So clearly I'd come at it from a different angle than the 2 people right here next to me. So I really want to get those bylaws reworked, that user-friendly document. I think that's real important. You got to build the foundation before we grow from there. But I'm ready to go. Planning is critical for this town. We really have to start planning now. Can't wait any longer.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Brown?
Okay, well, I'm the only guy wearing a tie. So I think that we're all individuals on these boards, and we all bring our own personality. And I think what maybe defines me is my willingness to accept new projects. A lot of people don't like change, and they see developers come in and they say, oh, my town's never going to be the same. And I'm kind of welcoming to that, because I feel like a town that's just stagnating and declining just to try to hang on to its identity is not going to go anywhere. I think we need to accept change. It's going to happen. So we need to learn how to plan and change in a good way, not just to ignore it and let it just happen. Because if a developer has a right to develop, he's going to develop, and you got to try to work with him. So that's one issue. Another issue I think is I'm really, really focused on the coastal resiliency. I bring it up almost every meeting, and I know pretty soon it's going to come to the forefront. So I'm ready to discuss that. I think that's the most important thing for us.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Leary?
My strength, one of the strengths is not just the nitty-gritty. I do my homework. If you've watched our meetings, I'm not somebody who asks a lot of questions. I don't do a lot of talking. I kind of listen and then go back and look at my book and talk to the staff and things like that. But as someone who's built a lot of things in my life, I tend to be able to envision things. I can see things. I can drive down Davis Straits and I can see what things could look like in the future. I can look at an empty lot and see what could be there. I could look at an older building and see what could be there. I can also look further down the road, and I think the exercise of being on the local comprehensive plan has done that. We joke about how we're envisioning things for 50 to 100 years, and I'm joking that I want to be here 100 years from now to see some of this stuff. But I think being able to envision things is very important. There was a small conference that the planning board had. I believe it was with the Selectmen. I wasn't able to make that, but Brian Curry brought down a lot of drawings from from past planning exercises, and a lot of them have come to fruition.
Thank you very much. And thank you very much to the candidates for the planning board. next is the Library Board of Trustees, and we have Michael Corrigan, Jerome Fanger, Kathleen Murray, and Marilyn Zaks. So again, you can come right up and take a look at where the placard is and sit there. Okay, thank you very much. Let's begin with the first question, and we'll start at the end. I believe that's Mr. Michael Corrigan. Okay, wonderful. In what direction would you propose the Falmouth Public Library move in the next 5 years?
Well, I have a couple of directions I think the library should move. First of all, like many of us who work outside of Falmouth and have regular jobs, it's not always easy to get to the library. And I'd like to see, and I know this is a matter of resources, and I know they've all looked at this. This board has done a fine job. I'd like to see the library more available to more of us people who do have jobs, work outside of Falmouth, and would like to make more use of the library than we can. That's one thing. The other thing I would like to see is more resources given to professional development of the library staff. There's so much going on in the world of information technology, libraries generally, that it's really hard to keep up with that unless you go to these conferences, these meetings that are so important to the professional staff who do work in the library. And so those are two particular directions I would like to see.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Fanger, same question. In what direction would you propose the Falmouth Public Library move in the next 5 years?
Excuse me. I would like to see us move forward with additional time on Sunday. We could raise the hours on Sunday from 1 to 5, raise the hours at the West Falmouth branch and East Falmouth branch, but that all costs money. To raise, to open up on Sunday from 1 to 5 will cost about $50,000 per year, and so we'd have to find that money. The matter of electronics, very important. We need to teach the staff, and for the staff to then teach the public how to use the various resources that we have in electronics. It is now possible to go on the Falmouth website and download books onto your Kindle or onto your laptop. And many people don't know how to do that. We have to teach the public as well as the staff.
Thank you very much. Ms. Murray, same question. In what direction would you propose the Falmouth Public Library move in the next 5 years?
Well, I happen to agree with parts of both of these people. I think we definitely need more hours. This is a town decision, and it's a difficult decision, but we need them both for the main library, but also for the branches, and we are going to increase the branches slightly in the coming year, I'm happy to say. But I also think, yes, the libraries are changing a lot, and that needs a lot of professional development. Fortunately, we have a wonderful staff that is going ahead with taking courses whenever they can, and we support the staff as much as we can in advancing their knowledge of what is the technology of what is happening to the libraries in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Zach, same question. In what direction would you propose the Falmouth Public
Library at the moment, under the aegis of the Massachusetts Board of Library Commissioners, is developing a comprehensive plan. The function of libraries has changed vastly. We were essentially thought of as an information and cultural center. More and more, we are morphing to being a community center, a place for not only seeking ideas, but exchanging ideas. And we are seeking input from the public onto what their needs are, and you shortly will be engaged in that. The big issue is hours. Today I was at the library when it was closed. It broke my heart. I saw a very well-dressed man, briefcase in hand, books in his briefcase, marching down the street, pulling at the door, and realizing that it wasn't open. We don't open till 1 o'clock. Sunday hours are being sought after by the working public, by families,
We're going to
and
have
I
to end
think
it.
that's an important issue.
Thank you very much. And the second question, we'll begin with you, Mr. Fanger. What is your wish for the library in your upcoming term?
The first item on my wish list would be Sunday afternoon, library open. But as I said before, that's about $50,000 a year. And the town has a very stringent budget. The second aspect of the wish list would be that we have more electronics and that we're able to download more of the books and CDs onto the town website, and then for people to be able to download from there onto their own computers.
Okay. Let's see. Ms. Murray, same question. What is your wish list for the library in your upcoming term?
In this next term, I think we've done a lot with the Maine. I think it's time to pay more attention to the two branches. We have done some work. We've done some great work at East, and I happen to be on the committee that is looking to see what should we do about North. Anybody who's been at the North knows that it's a very cramped space, and we have to do something, and I'd like to work on that in the coming term. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Zaks, what was your wish for the library?
I would concur with more hours, Sunday hours, more attention to the branches, and something where I'm preaching to the choir here. You are all probably library users. We are under-marketed. It's an institution in town where some people have never set foot into the building. That's hard for most of us to think about. But we had the need to engage people to come and seek this place out, to have them acquainted with our programs. We go to a great deal of trouble to do various programs. We had a poetry program where somebody was impersonating Walt Whitman, did a wonderful job. 20 people came, and it was worthwhile for those 20 people. But I think that if we're going to maintain the vitality of the town and of the library, that we need to do a better job in increasing library user pleasure.
Thank you. Mr. Corrigan.
Well, like everybody else here, I think my wish is we get more money for the library. And of course, that's more resources. That's at the bottom of everything. But I think beyond that is my wish that we get the people of the town of Falmouth to think more about the library in terms of a school system and an extension of the school system. We live in an increasingly complex and challenging world. We're no longer the only kid on the block. And in this competitive, challenging world, we have to have an educated population that goes on learning long after school is out, school is over. And the library is that thing that the town does that is on the same level, the same plane, the same importance as a school system. It's not just a cultural affectation, it's a critical part of the way we are going to be in the world, and we have to support it. And I want to see that the town itself and the library, with help from the town to promote itself, as Marilyn said, can tell people this is what we have to do as a town if we're going to keep ourselves functioning and vital as a town, as a society, as a country. We've got to spend more time promoting the library as a lifelong learning resource.
Thank you. Ms. Murray, the third question to you. What specific strengths will you bring to the Board of Library Trustees? To you, yes. Okay. What specific strengths would you bring to the board?
I think a lot of it has been, I have substituted in all the school libraries, and this has made me quite acquainted with the children in all the schools. Going up through the high school, it's made me more acquainted with all the parts of town. I think that has been very helpful. And also in some of my multicultural other activities I've done, it really has helped me get to know the town. Not everybody uses the library in the same way, and we have to be open to offering something for everybody in each part of town. in each age group. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Zaks?
Well, I'm sort of a gadfly, and I like to ask, why can't we and why not? I try to maintain an innovative stance and to keep up with technology. I keep in touch with the director. I try to respect the staff, show our appreciation to the staff, sometimes with simple things like having the trustees give a dinner for them after the summer when they see over 1,000 patrons a day come marching through. They maintain their equanimity. It takes little things. It takes consistent interest. It takes dedication. It takes enthusiasm. It takes energy, and I think I've got all of that.
Thank you. Mr. Corrigan, what specific strength will you bring to the Board of Library Trustees?
Well, I think I could bring the strength of a lifelong commitment to learning and spending time in education. Even in my naval career, I spent a great number of years teaching at the Naval Academy and at the Naval War College, and since retirement, I've been teaching for the last 25 years at Boston University. And in all those places, I've worked very closely with libraries, and I think what I can bring to this library board, who, by the way, I think has done a tremendous job, what I can bring to this board is a new perspective, a new outlook, especially in teaching adults, because a lot of the students I've been teaching over these many years have been adult students, and that's an audience we have to reach if we're going to get, say, what I wanted earlier, which is a commitment of resources. We have to get the adults, the people who participate in community affairs, to understand that the library is very important to them, very important to everyone. So I think that's the kind of experience I can bring to this library board.
Thank you very much. Okay, and with the final question, Mr. Fanger, let's give you...
Answered that one yet.
Oh, go right ahead. I got distracted.
That's quite all right.
Go right ahead.
You're going to
and then you'll get to go first with the next one. So.
Okay. I can put the 2 minutes together, perhaps.
No. Nice.
My training was as a corporate lawyer. I spent a lot of time asking questions, finding out what can go wrong. And matter of fact, in order to be a good lawyer, you have to be sort of paranoid. You have to know where things can go wrong, and you've got to suspect what can go wrong. And one of my roles for the last 6 years has been to ask a lot of questions, get thorough answers from a wonderful staff. We have a super group of people from Leslie Morrissey, the director, on down. The second aspect that I've been involved in as treasurer is spending a lot of time being sure that our finances are appropriate and that we can do the things that we try to do.
And the final question, we'll begin with you again, and it's actually in two parts. What are the major items that need to be included in the strategic plan for the next 5 years? And how will our library and branches change in the future as this is implemented? How will this be implemented? Let me read that one more time. What are the major items that need to be included on the strategic plan for the next 5 years? And how will our library and branches change in the future, and how will this be implemented?
We've already started to move into the 21st century. The number of actual books being taken out has declined, not tremendously, but declined a little bit. On the other hand, the electronic data has increased remarkably, and that's part of moving into the 21st century. What we have to do is envision where are we headed, how much will be done by people downloading from our website onto an iPad, and how much will be people taking out books or coming to the library for educational purposes. The Joy of Learning classes, for example, have been wonderful. We've attended those for several years, and that's a major part of what the library does.
Thank you. Ms. Murray, let's go to you. What are the major items that need to be included in this strategic plan for the next 5 years? How will our library and branches change in the future, and how will this be implemented?
Well, first, I don't think we know how the libraries are going to change over the next 5 years. Think how much they've changed in the past 5 years, and we are managing to keep up with it. At one time, remember, you could see all those videos. Videos are completely out. We have a lot of DVDs now at the library. I used to be able to use cassettes. We have a lot of CDs now. Libraries are changing. Books that you can take out online. Now we do it all the time. And I think we have to be aware of what's changing and what to do, but I'm not sure we can really plan 5 years ahead exactly. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Zaks.
I have here a report from Technical Services where they tell us that Falmouth is the first library in Clams to introduce and implement an online ordering system, ultimately allowing patrons faster access to popular titles, often before the titles are even published. To Kill a Mockingbird, here we are. I think that technology is going to become an instrument for us to use in conjunction with what we already have, that is people power. I think that I have a strong commitment to seeing the branches become more viable, having their hours increase. Do I dare say it for those who are fiscally cautious? I would like to see a new building in North Falmouth for the North Falmouth Library. It should become a community center, and as our population grows, I think that makes sense.
Thank you very much. Mr. Corrigan, would you like me to read it again? Or?
Yes, well, let me batten onto that North Falmouth thing, because that's where I live, and I'd love to see one there too. But how I see libraries developing in the next 5 years, I think we can do something, which is make that library an extension of the schooling, the lifelong learning that we want to have for our citizens here in Falmouth. I mean, we have places you can meet, but that's Starbucks, and we need something better than that. We need a place to go to where we can have discussion, exchanges of information, and learning. Library is not just a place to go and get things, get books, and then go home, or download something from the internet and go home, go away. It's a place to go and maybe get these resources and then share them with like-minded people. Obviously, the people who are going to be there are also like-minded, would like to learn things, and we can exchange with each other. And that's what I'd like to see happen at all the libraries, and that's going to require some space, some readjustment of what we do now at the libraries, but I think that's very important. So I'm a great believer in a library as a continuation of the community's effort, something that all communities believe in, educating the people, educating the young people, but I want to see us educating the adults and continuing that education throughout a lifetime.
Thank you very much. And that concludes the questions from the League. And so we move to the 2-minute, let's see, closing statements. And Marilyn Zaks, Ms. Marilyn Zaks, you asked me if it would be okay if you read something that I believe you snipped from the paper. I see this 2 minutes as your time, so you're welcome to use it any way you like.
All right. Well, over the years, the mission of the library has been to provide open, unbiased access to information, and that's essentially remained unchanged. What has changed are our goals and policies and community use of the library. 20 years ago, our vocabulary did not include words like hashtag, emoji, hack, cyberporn, tweet, or Facebook. We did not imagine that there would be a need for policies governing the use of public access computers, or policies guaranteeing protection for those using to wish our meeting rooms who may not think politically the same way that we do. We also have to be concerned nowadays with untoward events that might impact the safety of the public and our staff. These changes help define what a library trustee will encounter in the role of policymaker and keeper of the institutional integrity. It means that a good trustee is always engaged as a library advocate. It means being mindful of the obligation to draw young readers into the pleasures of reading. It means reaching out to young adults who are soon to become our voters. There are other concerns that make a difference in library performance. I helped introduce a staff appreciation program that honors the work of the staff, particularly in the summer when our population surges. Offering a modest trustee-made dinner in our homes makes for good community relations. My library advocacy in the past included wearing silly hats to encourage the people to vote yes for the library renovation. That was my passion, and I am delighted to see it functioning well. It has meant meeting and listening to concerns of the patrons of the two branches, east and north. Early on as a trustee, one of my goals was to establish a Friends of the Library.
I'm sorry,
And
we're gonna have to
I would
conclude.
just give a summary. The library is an institution that has been a beacon from the days of scrolls and clay tablets to e-books.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Mr. Corrigan, your 2-minute closing.
Okay, my name is Michael, and I'm a Wash Ashore. I'm not a lifelong resident of Falmouth. In fact, I grew up as an Army brat, and then I was in the Navy. And before I moved to Falmouth, I'd lived in 30 different residences, and when I came here, I said, this is it. I lived 6 years in Germany, 3 in Iceland, 1 in Vietnam, and I've lived all over the United States. This is a town I've come to love, and I think it has wonderful features, and I think the jewel of the town is this library that we have, and I want to be a part of that. The board that has gone on before, the librarians, a great team, they've done great things, and I want to continue on that. But I think what I can bring to this is a new perspective. Now, I have participated in the town of Falmouth whenever I can with a full-time job 75 miles away. But I've been on the cable advisory board, and that's that evil thing, television. Well, if you're in a library mode, it is. But I've also just completed my 5th Joy of Learning series presentation. I want to do more. I want to do as much as I can for this library, and I think I can bring a perspective to it that's somewhat new and somewhat different because of my experience with education, and especially now that I'm at Boston University, where we have library issues and we're dealing with those all the time, and I have some peripheral involvement with that, but I know what's going on in this world of libraries, and I know what's coming down the pike. I can see what's coming, and we're on the faculty brought into this all the time. And this is a kind of experience, this is a kind of outlook, this is a kind of perhaps specialization that I think I can bring to this library. As I say, I think it's been a great outfit. The people do a great job here, but I want to be part of that team too. I want to give something to Falmouth. This is the town I got to pick for my hometown. I love it, and I want to do everything I can to help.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Fenger, yes. Your
My turn?
2-minute close.
Good. First, I want to thank the League and particularly the Voter Service Committee chaired by Alice Carey. They do this job year in and year out, election in and election out, and they do a wonderful job of making this information available to the public. And secondly, I'd like to thank FCTV for recording this so that those who were not able to get here tonight are able to see and hear the candidates. Going forward into the future, we need several things to happen. We need to keep a staff that we currently have as an excellent staff. We need to train the staff in electronics from year to year as the new Apples come out. And then we must work on expanding the hours, and we must work on refurbishing both the North Falmouth branch and the East Falmouth branch. We did some work on the North Falmouth branch, but it's an old World War II building, and it's very small, and it's very difficult to have a children's hour there, for example. But all this takes money, and that's hard to come by. The staff discusses these issues with the Board of Selectmen, and hopefully we'll have some results. This coming year, the year 2015 to 2016, that's the fiscal year, there'll be some additional hours at both the East Falmouth branch and the North Falmouth branch. But it's taken some time to get that done.
Thank you. Ms. Kathleen Murray.
I'd like to thank the League and the TV. I'd also like to thank all the people that are here and that are going to watch it on TV at home, because elections are important for all of us. I have lived here over 30 years and have been using the library ever since. I became active with the Friends of the Library pretty much from its inception, and I think we're all grateful to the Friends and how that book sale has really, really grown. As a trustee, I've been involved with various other things for the last few years, and of course now I'm now looking at the North Falmouth branch. I enjoy working with both the Friends and with the trustees, and I've been able to do both. We have to keep up our buildings. The main building we're very happy with, and we want to keep it that way. It is an asset to the community, not only to the people of Falmouth, but also to our summer people and to the many, many visitors that they have. People appreciate the Falmouth Library and also the two branches. Some visitors only go to the north, oddly enough, and a lot of people only go to the main library. All of this, we have to understand libraries are changing, and we must keep in step with them, and I want to be part of that in the future also. So I think that's pretty much, I want to say, don't forget to vote, and I certainly would like you to consider me for the election. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I think we had a pretty good discussion there. If anyone has a question from the audience that we didn't touch upon, I welcome you, but we can only probably do one. We need to move things along. Is there anyone with a pressing question that we didn't hit upon? Yes, sir.
In view of the limited financial resources that we must face, I'd like to know how the acquisition of technology is going to impact the acquisition of printed books.
Okay, Mr. Corrigan, could you take that first?
Well, of course, there's going to be a competition, but the acquisition of technology is something that price goes, as you know, if you go to any of these stores around here, if you wait just 6 months, everything goes down in the price. The books, we have to be very selective on what we get for books and what we don't have for books. We can't keep up with all the latest novels, for example, and we can't keep up with how to do it books and such things that I have found in the library. We have to be more selective on the books we do get. They have to be things of enduring value that have a wide appeal. And as far as the technology goes, we have to be careful that we get the right kind of technology and don't jump in too fast on the new stuff. And when the new stuff does come along that serves its purpose, we have to wait till the price comes down. You can't be the first one to buy or you're going to pay a lot of money. So it's a matter of choice and balance, and it's going to require constant attention and constant surveying of the world out there to see what's available in technology, what kind of books are enduring, what kind of books are not.
Thank you. Mr. Fanger?
Many of the books that are now in the library are available online, and the amount of space consumed by those books can be decreased. You don't need 3 or 4 copies of Huckleberry Finn like you once did. You can now download it right to your iPad. The new books as they come on stream will not immediately go on to Kindle, perhaps, but they will become available on Kindle. And we just have to keep the number of dollars down by having more and more of the books eventually going on to Kindle.
Ms. Murray?
You were talking about what to do more with less, and I think one thing is the wonderful CLAM system, the interlibrary loan. You can get any book easily by just requesting it from that's on any library in the Cape, even if it's not carried at the local branch. The other thing is for new books, the Friends buy new books that they put out for rental, and you can rent a brand new book for, I think it's $1 a week or something, and that will be, and when the new book has been used a lot, they return it to the Friends. As far as the staff goes, which is a big problem, they are really making surveys and trying to figure out what more can they do with less? How can they get more out of the same staff with fewer time, because maintaining a big library does require a lot of staff in all the various rooms. I hope that helps your question.
Thank you. And Ms. Zaks, yes.
It is state mandated that 13% of the budget for the library must be used for buying materials for the library. That is a state law for any library in the state. So that guarantees us that baseline. We in the past have had public and private partnerships that have worked very well. We have had people dedicated to the town who have been generous donors. It's a path that we can always revisit and actually hope to revisit. And I think that a trustee's obligation is not only to run the stuff at the library, but to be involved in public relations to inform the public of the need to expand on library funding and to inform the public that donations are always welcome. Part of the refurbishing at North Falmouth was done with the generosity of essentially one wonderful woman. So all is not lost.
Thank you. Thank you for the excellent question. And let's thank the candidates for the Library Board of Trustees. And the school committee is next, and we're going to combine the 4 candidates for the 3-year term with the 2 candidates for the 1-year term. So that would be Walter Crotty, John Fernari, Gina Marie Tolentino, Olivia Ann Hobby, and Melissa Keefe. Since I can't see who is who, if I could just ask you to give your name and come down the line, if we could start. Is that Mr. Crotty at the end there? Okay, Mr. Crotty, yes?
John Fernari.
Right.
Olivia Ann Hobby.
Okay.
Melissa Keefe.
I'm Gina Marie Tolentino.
And Kelly Welch.
Okay, I'll do my best. Okay, let's begin with you, Mr. Crotty. Is there any specific cause or issue that motivates your candidacy?
Well, my basic motivation is I have always had a deep interest in the education and development of young people. Ironically, it started when I was playing for Falmouth in the Cape Cod League, and I got a chance to coach young people and saw the impact. So that's carried with me for a long time. Certainly, I would like to make a contribution to the committee in talking to some of the teachers, which is by no means making me a complete expert. I think there are some issues in terms of this Common Core being kind of shoved down people's throat that doesn't seem to look like it could be modified. And the other thing, some of these teachers feel like they're not being involved in some of the issues. So obviously there's an opportunity for some better teamwork as far as getting teacher input. So those would be the 2 issues I've developed so far, but I'm not trying to pretend that I have all the answers. I think part of it is getting involved with the committee, asking some good questions, finding out areas for improvement, and acting on those. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Fernari, same question. Is there any specific cause or issue that motivates your candidacy?
Well, clearly we have some decisions to be made, critical decisions of putting leadership in place. At this time, too, of course, with 5 of the 9 school committee seats, it's a important time that we can really shape the future of Falmouth. I feel strongly that children are our future, and making the right decisions with regard to leadership is something that we have to do.
Okay. Olivia Ann Hobby, same question.
Yes, I was motivated when I saw all those vacancies on what should be a very, very important committee in the town, because, as we all agree, the education of our children is so important. My children had very good experiences in the Falmouth schools, in the sports, in the academics, in the extracurricular activities, and they had wonderful teachers who were dedicated, and we need to support those teachers. And parents and people who know schools and care about children are the ones who can do that best.
Thank you. Melissa Keefe.
I am motivated by our 2 children. I feel as though my time to step up has come. Our children are 5 and 6, and my husband and I both K through 12 Falmouth High School graduates. I learned to love education at Falmouth, and I want to do my very best to continue that with not only my children, but for all the other children, support the teachers who are so good and who have stuck with us through the years. I want to try to support them and I think that's what motivates me most.
Thank you. Gina Marie Tolentino.
Yes, thank you very much. My name is Jean Marie Tolentino, and I have 2 children in the Falmouth Public Schools. I have been a resident for 25 years, and I was very concerned when I saw all the open seats as well. There's a lot of issues that definitely need to be dealt with. I love the Falmouth Public Schools. My kids have always enjoyed it. I've volunteered throughout, and part of my concern why I decided to run was when I started to see some of the schoolwork brought home and the testing going on, again, the park testing and the Common Core. There's a lot of problems with that, and it needs to be addressed for sure. There's a lot of testing going on and not a lot of learning going on. It's very confusing. It's very confusing for the children. Thank you.
Thank you. Kelly Welch.
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah,
Just wanna
sure.
make
Is there any, that's right. Is there any specific cause or issue that motivates your candidacy?
Like a lot of the other people running, I also have young children in the school district, so I'm of course motivated by them and my interest in their well-being, and then the entire district, all the students that are in the district. But I don't think that you can really have any one motivating factor because the things that come before school committee are so varied and you don't really know what they're going to be. So to try and be pushing a specific agenda all the time, I think would be counterproductive. So I don't think I have any one reason to run. I think there are a lot of reasons to run, and they're all the little kids that are in the district right now.
Thank you. The second question, we'll start with you, John Fernari. One of your first and most important jobs will be selecting a new superintendent of schools. What will you be looking for as you interview candidates?
Well, first off, we want to have someone that actually has a vested motivation for being in Falmouth. I mean, we do want to do a nationwide search, but we want to have a commitment that they're going to be here. And we want to have someone who will develop an environment of mutual respect and working with the teachers. It's natural for any organization to have turnover. I think of late in our schools specifically, we've had a little bit too much turnover in leadership. I don't think that our principals should change as often as Red Sox shortstops. Someone who would be focused on how do I keep people and motivate people and work together as a team. That would be someone I would look for.
Thank you. Olive Ann Hobby, one of your first and most important jobs will be selecting a new superintendent of schools. What will you be looking for as you interview candidates?
Well, that is a tremendous responsibility, and I certainly agree with you that we have to find somebody who is committed to Falmouth, who can work well, and who can create an atmosphere in which people trust the administration, and they learn to trust each other, and they feel that they can make some experiments, not wild experiments, but some initiatives in education, and have the support of the school, that they learn to share and feel that the sharing of their ideas with other teachers is important and encouraged. So we need to do a broad search, but we need to find somebody who really wants to live in the Cape and stay here and come to candidates' meetings.
Thank you. And Melissa Keefe.
I don't think we should rush into this. I think that we should start by looking from within. I think that we should, by looking from within, you often find people who are here, who have roots and are vested. I'm not saying that we shouldn't look as a nationwide search also, but I just think that we should not rush into this. I think we should allow the assistant superintendent to finish the superintendent's term, to buy us some time. I am not a fan of rushing into anything this big of a deal, and this is a big deal. So I think that we should take our time and choose wisely. And I agree that there needs to be some teamwork involved and someone who shows up to see us because we are important too. And I think that working as a team needs to really shine through. It needs to be a two-way conversation.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And Gina Marie Tolentino, the same question. One of your first and most important jobs will be selecting a new superintendent of schools, and what will you be looking for as you interview candidates?
I'm not completely familiar with exactly how to go about that, so I'm not sure on that. I would like to find out as I go along. I do know that it is a concern of mine because I don't know why we can't seem to keep a superintendent, and that's a concern. And I also know that we don't have anybody that's been local, and I don't know that that's the answer necessarily, but we definitely need somebody that is vested that would like to stay here. And I would like to look into the criteria for that so we can hold on to a superintendent, because this flip-flopping is not working.
Thank you. Kelly Welch?
I think there are a couple things that I would be looking for. The first is a good communicator, somebody that can communicate not just with their staff and the teachers, but also with the community at large. And I would love to see somebody that has a strong fiscal background, that understands the very tight budget constraints that we're under, and can look at the fiscal responsibilities through a new lens and maybe see opportunities that we've missed for saving money and being able to use those funds to enrich programs in other ways. And going back to the communication, actually, having somebody that is committed to Falmouth and can communicate with town leadership to make sure that things aren't overlapping. Like, this event actually overlaps with school events. So being able to put all of those pieces together so that we're not asking people to make choices that they don't want to have to make.
Thank you. Mr. Walter Crotty.
Yes, thank you. Obviously, this is a very, very important position, so I think it's a very good question. From my business background, I know the first thing you do is you want to do a background check on the candidate. And in this case, I think it's more than just what shows up on paper. I think it's important to talk to people that he or she has worked with and see if the conditions that many of the candidates have mentioned are there. Are they a team builder? From talking to some of the teachers, I think a lot of teachers feel like they've been left out of the equation, and those are your key players. Are they good communicators? And that means two-way communication, not just top-down. And I think those are vital issues in selecting the candidate, and hopefully the school committee would have a lot of input in checking that out and making sure that we get a good one, as the other candidates have mentioned, and someone that's committed to the process and will stay here to see the duration of the objectives achieved.
Thank you. Our next question will begin with Olive Ann Hobby. What aspects of education in the Falmouth school system would you expand or change?
That's a toughie. Because there's so much you want to do, I would like to see the Falmouth schools emphasize math and science. If you read the results of American students taking a math and science test, we're way behind where a nation as rich and as full of potential as the U.S. is should be. Our children should be doing much better in math and science. I'm also very, very committed to art and music, not only because those are things that I love personally and have enjoyed my whole life, but I think that art and music give children who might not be stars in the classroom a chance where they can shine and do something really unusual. And I'm also really delighted to see some of the gardening projects in the school. It's so easy in our techie urban environment to lose contact with nature, and so to have gardens in the school is wonderful. So those are things I would encourage.
Thank you. Melissa Keefe, let me say the question again. What aspects of education in the Falmouth school system would you expand or change?
Would I expand or change? I would like to expand also in math and science. I think it's very important for our young people to be math and science strong. I think moving forward in life, whatever profession you choose, having a strong math and science background will take you leaps and bounds further than you could even think you could. Math and science also tie very well into music, which I also agree needs to be expanded. I think it's important for so many different reasons. It's important for learning. If you can read music, it's proven that you are better with math. It helps with coping for those people that have, it's hard to be a kid. It's hard to be a teenager. And you find solace in music, whatever music it is, whether it be classical or something modern, whatever. I think that the music portion needs to be expanded as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Gina Marie Tolentino?
Yes, I believe that math and English and history, I've noticed just with what my children have been bringing home, there's a huge lack in the history. They're not being taught some of the basics about our forefathers and our own country. It's important to learn about all the countries, but we should especially be learning about our own country, at least start with that. And I've noticed that even when they do teach in our history, they're omitting very small things, or statements, words in a sentence that completely changes it, and it's changing history. And I was shocked to see some of the bookwork and reading and homework that's been coming home, because it doesn't match our history, and that was a big concern of mine.
Thank you. Kelly Welch.
I think if I started it with elementary schools, I'd love to see more music and more arts. Mullen Hall just started this year with an extra recess period, which isn't academic, but I think it's really important that kids learn how to, first of all, run around outside, and also how to interact with each other in a less supervised setting, because that's how we all actually interact in real life. I would love to see higher end things at the high school, like programming classes and coding classes, and use of the new 3D printer to meet those really high demand engineering type careers. And then throughout, I would love to see the service learning component expanded. It seems a little bit hit or miss, whether or not kids get the opportunity to participate in that, and I'd love to see it everywhere. Mullen Hall has a service learning project, Helping Hands Day. Now we have Project Go here at Morse Pond, and I'd love to see those opportunities in all the schools.
Thank you. Mr. Walter Crotty.
Could you repeat the question?
I
Make
will.
sure I stay on topic.
Absolutely. What aspects of education in the Falmouth school system would you expand or change?
Well, I think it's important that we realize that our objective is to develop the total person. Academics is part of it. Extracurricular activities, as people have mentioned, is part of it. Athletics is part of it. I've been an athletic director. I know the role that can play in terms of tying in the whole school system, the academic part of it, and also civic involvement. I'm not sure that some of these schools encourage children to get involved with civic activities at an appropriate age, probably not first grade, but maybe fifth grade on. So I would want to make sure that that's what the schools are focused on, is not just the academic part, although that's the critical part, but also the other things that go into developing good potential citizens and good responsible people as we graduate them.
Thank you. And John Vernard.
Yeah, I'd like to mirror the notion of the math and science, and just to expand on the STEM program. That's a great program, and I actually also I have 3 children in the Falmouth Public Schools, one in North Falmouth, one in Morse Pond, and one in Lawrence. And that STEM program is a great program. One of the things that I'd like to change is the notion that's been floated about dropping the integrated program. Being a parent, along with my wife Beth, of a child with special needs, it's a program that we've seen from both sides of our other 2 children participated as well, and to see it on both sides to work so well and to be very effective, that's something that I'd like to see continue. And then also, as far as something I'd like to see change is civics in the classroom as well. When I was a kid, we actually had a class called civics, imagine that. And then,
Okay.
and then the
Thank you very
over-obsession with testing, I think. We need testing to measure performance of teachers, but not over-obsession. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'd like to move to the 2-minute closing statements. Melissa Keefe, why don't we begin with you?
Thank you. I'm Melissa Keefe. I am a product of Falmouth Public Schools. We moved here in 1977 when I was just 4. I don't remember a time before Falmouth. I went to K through 12 at Falmouth, graduated, went to college, lived away, and chose to come home. Was lucky enough to meet my husband, who also chose to come home after college and traveling, as I did. And we bought a home and got married and have chosen to raise our family in the neighborhood that I was lucky enough to grow up in. Although we are zoned for T-ticket, we send our children to East Falmouth because that's where I started to learn to love school. I also came from the time of Bob Antonucci, and he was wonderful, and he set a very good precedence for this town. And I would love, with your help, to be able to offer that to not only my children, but to the children of the town. There was a time that the school committee was very well respected, and children looked up to them, and they were, you know, they did a lot for the community, and I would like to help bring that back. Like I said before, our children are little. They're 5 and 6, and my time has come to take this responsibility. I am here for myself. I am here for the parents that want to be here, that can't be here, for the parents that don't even know, you know, that are so busy that they're, you know, barely getting by, and they're doing what they can, and I want to be the voice for everyone. I promise that I will do my best. I promise that I love this town, that we're not going anywhere, that I am very, very well vested in this town, and I promise to do my best. And I consider Falmouth my family, not just my parents and my mother-in-law and my husband, but my family is Falmouth. Thank you.
Gina Marie Tolentino, your closing statement.
Yes, thank you very much. I have 2 children in the Falmouth Public Schools, like I said in the beginning, and as I said before, I lived here for 25 years. I've never done this before, but I'm good at making decisions, and I understand things, and part of why I'm running, well, not just for my own children, but because I'm a businesswoman and I deal with people every day, and all these people that I deal with have children in the public schools, and they're constantly telling me things that they would like to see changed or questions they have. And something I noticed, I went to the school committee meeting for the first time twice. I'd never been before. And something I noticed when I walked in is there's maybe 10 seats for the public. I didn't even know I could attend the school committee meeting. And this was one of my concerns, because while we vote for the school committee to make the decisions, I think there should be more power given to the public, meaning they're allowed to come and speak for 2 minutes and voice their concerns, and I think it's important that we hear that. And I didn't even know I could do that. And I think that's very important. I also feel that we need to keep the control of the curriculum local and not give it to the state, as is what has happened with park testing and the Common Core curriculum. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Kelly Welch?
Thank you. First, I'd like to thank the League for having us tonight, and especially Alice Carey, who hunted me down despite I don't know how many typos in my contact information. So last year, I ran for a one-year term, mostly in part because of the budget difficulties over the course of last year, and I felt like I had something to contribute, and I wanted to be part of making sure that we didn't end up in the same place again. And now this year, we're in the position of needing to hire a superintendent. And although there are tons of things that come before the school committee all the time, and lots of homework to do and questions to ask, we really only have 3 things that we're actually responsible for: the budget, setting policy, and hiring and firing the superintendent. So I would really love the opportunity to be at the table for a third of that responsibility, which is going to happen over the course of the next year. And I'm going to stop there because my 8-year-old told me, "I'm sure you'll be fine, don't say anything stupid." So I'll quit while I'm ahead.
Well done. Walter Crotty.
Thank you, and you didn't say anything stupid. You can tell your 8-year-old. I'd also like to thank the League of Women Voters. I think this is a tremendous thing, giving the Falmouth community an opportunity to determine people's qualifications, their motivation, and so that they can cast a well-educated vote. So I think this is, for starters, a great thing. This education of our young people is, to me, the most important issue that we face today, not only as a town, as a state, but as a country. So I consider this position to be extremely important. I've had a 25-year business career, which has taught me a good way to assess situations, come up with objectives, and come up with strategies to achieve them. So I'd hope that would make a contribution to the board. I've also had fortunate enough to have a 14-year education experience where I was both a teacher and an athletic director. So I know what a good educational environment is. I know what it takes to provide assistance to teachers, and I know what motivates students. So I would like to think that that combination would be a great asset to the board. I can tell by listening to all the candidates that everyone is well motivated, and I'm sure it will be a tough decision for the voters. But I hope that I've given you a good insight into where I'm coming from, what I would like to accomplish, and I would hope that I would earn your vote, and you'd be grateful with the things I could contribute to the town. Thank you.
Thank you. John Fernari.
I'm John Fernari, and I'm asking for your vote for a 3-year term seat on the Falmouth School Committee on Tuesday, May 19th. And what I can say is that no matter what I say, I have a 13-year-old daughter at home that's going to say I said something stupid anyhow. So if I were fortunate enough to be elected as school committee member, I would encourage parents and guardians to take an active part in their child's public school education. Education is like a gym membership. You get out of it what you put into it. If you're not advocating for your child and encouraging her or him, who will? We need to work together as students, parents, teachers, and administrators to move forward. We can disagree on topics without being disagreeable. A we're in this together attitude can make this happen. Coaching youth soccer and baseball has given me a bit of an insight into how to create an environment and communication flow of encouragement between parents, kids, and their peers towards a common goal. I've been involved with the Falmouth VIPs and spent time working in the classroom. It's amazing to see what our teachers do firsthand. For 11 continuous years, I've served in various committees on the Falmouth Chamber of Commerce, currently on its board of directors. I've participated and sat in on the resiliency committee meetings that were aforementioned. I feel very comfortable in this sort of structure of an organization, what it takes to move forward and respecting people's time and focus and instilling energy to make things happen. As I said before, I feel I have a little bit of a value add on topics with relation to special education, have been directly both involved in the integrated classroom programs from both perspectives. Great achievement can be done side by side. I've seen it, and my family lives it. We have critical decisions on the horizon, including hiring a superintendent to work with our teachers and administrators and encouraging an environment of mutual respect. We need stability. Our most valuable asset is our children. Their future is the future of Falmouth. I'm John Fernari, and I'm asking for your vote for a 3-year term seat on the Falmouth School Committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Olive Ann Hobby.
I hope that in 1 year on the school committee, I can get a much deeper understanding of how the school works. I know that the school committee does have limited responsibilities. On the other hand, I think the atmosphere that the school committee can help create in the schools by supporting the administration, by supporting the teachers, by encouraging more parental involvement can be very critical to children's education. What makes for a good education is when the children are themselves motivated and the teachers that they have make them feel that they're learning and developing the gifts that they have. And then the teacher says, well, you've learned that, you know this, you can do this. How are you going to make that help other people? So we want to encourage that kind of community, I would say civic-minded atmosphere in the classrooms, even from the very young ages. We have to give our children a basic education. They absolutely have to have it these days, and they have to be able to keep up with technology, but we also want them to find out the things that they are good at. So art and music, sports perhaps is another place they might be good at, but letting them have projects that they can use to demonstrate their skills and their intellectual growth rather than so much test taking is something that I think the school committee would probably have some input into. So we want the best education for our kids, and we need to encourage our teachers as much as we can and support them.
Thank you very much. We have to be done by 9:30, but I think we can fit one question in if we have one very good question from the audience. Yes, sir?
Sam Patterson, 16-year veteran on the school committee. Educators across this country rank Massachusetts first or second in terms of quality of its public school education. A lot of people point to the Ed Reform Act of 1993 as the reason for that. It's the reason why we've risen to that level. A part of that is the establishment of the Massachusetts curriculum frameworks and standards, which the Common Core got integrated in. So that's now a piece of that. It's not the whole thing, by the way. It's just about 20% of that. And then the piece that came along with it was the assessment, formerly known as MCAS, and now PARC is probably going to be the substitute for that. In the spirit of continuous improvement, when you look at how our education programs work from your various perspectives, how would you rank the benefits and the weaknesses of that Ed Reform Act's initiative of the frameworks, the standards, and the assessment piece?
Okay. Gina Marie Tolentino? It's a complex question.
I'm sorry, I don't quite understand the question.
Well, I think he's asking about reform, education reform, and how it's kind of laid out in kind of what it turned into over the past 20 years and what your thoughts are on that. It's that somewhat of a summary, I hope. You can interpret it how you like.
I really don't understand the question, but I don't think PARC will be adopted, first of all. I'm hoping that it isn't. Common Core definitely needs some work. It's not working very well. I would hope that we can come together. I know people across the state are going to forums. I've attended a forum in Fitchburg at the university, Fitchburg University, on this subject, and there's a lot of input on it. There's a lot of concerns from teachers, parents. I will say that I know that nobody's liking the program as it stands, and it definitely needs revisement. And I do know that the standards and the curriculum that we've had in the past have worked, and I'm not sure why we've changed it. The Iowa and the Stanford testing worked very well. We have produced geniuses and very smart people across the country, and I don't know why we would want to change that if we had a system that was working.
Thank you very much. Kelly Welch.
So I don't know a lot about the 1993. I don't want to date you, Sam, but I was really, really young. But I will say that, you know, I do think that there is always the need for continuous improvement. And I think that, you know, what the goal of the new frameworks is to develop thinkers. We don't want people that can just memorize information. That doesn't serve any purpose. That certainly doesn't fit what we need in society for the jobs that these kids are going to be looking at when they get out. They need to show up to college actually ready to think, not trying to remember some random fact that they were supposed to memorize. And I think that that's the goal of the new frameworks, is to be deeper and more thoughtful and less focused on rote memorization and regurgitation, because in the long run, we need thinkers. So that's what I think the goal of it is, and I think that there has to be some form of assessing that, and whatever test that is has to accomplish it.
Okay. Thank you. Walter Crotty.
Yes, the feedback I've got from some of the teachers I have talked to, and as I say, by no means it's not every teacher in the system. I haven't had that much time. But they're fine with the state standards as they were established. They're fine with the MCAS, and most parents seem to feel the same way. It's this Common Core that seems to be the big problem. You may not have to throw the baby out with the bathwater, but it clearly needs some modification, and it seems to need some very serious teacher input. And I agree with the previous speaker's comment. You have to teach kids how to think, how to be creative. That's what's made this country great. It's not memorizing things. It's being able to think outside the box, for lack of a better term. And long term, you know, all these great inventions and new systems we've come up with, if we start just being dictated by this Common Core standards, are going to go down the drain. So I think that needs some serious modification. But we do need standards. We just have to be realistic about what they are.
John Fernari.
Well, again, as I reiterate what Kelly said, sorry, I won't go back to 1993, but I can go actually back to an actual conversation I had to a senior administrator in 2007, who I had a great rapport, my wife and I had a great rapport with, and still did after this statement. But it was interesting, the viewpoint was, imagine if we do poorly in testing, someone could be fired. And what I said was, welcome to my world. And in the private sector, you are measured by how you're doing. You don't want to have 5 years go by and just have an entire generation of kids get poorly educated. This is the methodology with which we learn what's going on. The over-obsession with it, as much as I like those phone calls saying, don't forget to go to sleep and study and everything and get a good meal in the morning, you can't over-obsess on it. You got to also allow the teachers to express their creativity to make that one-on-one connection as well.
Thank you. Olive Ann Hobby?
Yes, again, I'm not familiar with the specifics of the programs that he was talking about, but we do have to have this common core of knowledge, and it has to be evaluated in some way. Students cannot go out into the world today without having some of the basic skills. And one of the good things about testing is that they know where they are. We have to be very careful not to be teaching to tests. We have to give teachers freedom to help students find their own way of learning. But we must have some testing in the schools, obviously. And we have to protect the Common Core of knowledge.
Thank you. And Melissa Keith.
I think that if you don't have a standard of how your children progress through school, how will you know that they're succeeding? I don't think that we should obsess about testing. However, I do think testing is good and is important. I think that we need to encourage our teachers to teach students again and not teach to the test. I think that that's borderline insulting to teachers who've devoted their lives to teaching, and they've been now instructed to teach to a test that is overwhelming and consuming and dividing people, a town, a community, what have you. Again, children need structure. They need to know where their boundaries are, and that includes part of taking tests and moving forward. And that's part of life, quite honestly. But again, I don't think that we should obsess about it. I think that it needs some revision. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, and thank you to the candidates for the school committee. And we'll invite the two candidates for the open seat on the Board of Selectmen, Mark Finneran and Douglas Jones. Okay. Mr. Finneran, let's begin with you. What particular strengths will you bring to the office of Selectman?
I have been, excuse me. I've been very involved. All right, here we go. I've been very involved with the town for at least the last 10 years. I've grown to know many of the different departments, aspects, and functions of the town. I follow it all with great interest. I can honestly say that I've missed 2 meetings of the Board of Selectmen in the last, I think, 9 years. Basically, it's just experience and the fact that I really care.
Thank you. And you, Mr. Jones, Douglas Jones, what particular strengths will you bring to the office of Selectman?
I think the strengths that I bring to the Board of Selectmen are my ability and willingness and desire to work with others. My love for this town, I'm a native of Falmouth, and I want to see it continue to prosper the way it has. The knowledge that I have, my ability to deal with financial management as a math teacher, to understand the effects of an incremental increase on the tax rate for individuals is a strength that I can bring to the board and be able to explain why that can be difficult for someone on a fixed income. But also my ability to listen to what other people have to say. One of the things that the Board of Selectmen has done recently, I've been very impressed with how often, as the meeting begins, we're deliberating on a topic, and it's not clear how the vote's going to go. Oftentimes the vote does turn 5-0 because we've reached a consensus. We've had a discussion, we've listened to other people's point of view, we've asked questions, and then said, oh, it's clear that this is the way to go. And I've been very proud that I've been able to contribute my skill to that.
Thank you. And let's stick with you for this next question. Mr. Jones, what policy issue do you anticipate will be most important for the Selectmen to address in your upcoming term?
Certainly it's going to be hard to limit to one. I'm not going to. I'm going to mention 2 different things that I think are very important for us to be dealing with the next term. One is to really see forward with the building of the new senior center. Getting the feasibility study, figure out the right site, and then really going forward with the construction of that, I think will be very, very important. But I think also to continue the work of the water quality management team and making sure that we're cleaning up the rest of the estuaries in town. We're doing a great job of starting off with Little Pond and Bourne's Pond, but the rest of the estuaries also are going to need some work, and so those are the 2 things I think are going to be some of the issues we should be working with.
Thank you. Mark Finneran, let me repeat the question. What policy issue do you anticipate will be most important for the Selectmen to address in your upcoming term?
I think would be probably wastewater. It's going to be necessary for the Selectmen and all to keep apprised of what is happening in the wastewater, new things. We were supposed to have an adaptive management plan, and this would require us to stay familiar with all new technologies. This would give us the ability to reduce greatly the amount of money that we intend to spend in the future cleaning our estuaries. I think the last thing that we should look at is any more sewering, and that means that we're going to have to keep a very close eye on this and stay up to date on every possible alternative and advantage that we can take to ensure that the taxpayers' bite of this apple is as small as possible.
Thank you. And let's stay with you, Mr. Finneran. In regard to the issue that you just identified, what approach will you recommend to the Board of Selectmen?
Well, I actually made a recommendation at town meeting. It wasn't well received, but it outlines what our plan is supposed to be. I think that considerable money can be saved. I certainly, as I just stated in the last question, I hope that we sewer no more. And just give alternatives a chance. I think that so far we've rushed into this sewering too fast. And I think if we pay close attention, there are going to be many opportunities where we can save money. And money's what the game's all about. I mean, money's what makes people leave this town on occasion. I mean, it's getting harder and harder for young people to live here, people on fixed incomes. I think you can't minimize the weight that this sewering issue is going to have on our future.
Thank you. And Mr. Jones, the same question. In regard to the issue or issues that you identified, what approach would you recommend to the Board of Selectmen?
Certainly the financial concern is one for all of us. However, what I think I've been most impressed with the water quality management team is sewering was the idea that was put forward many years ago, sewering the entire town. And is even where that committee started with. But they'd listened to the townspeople and really adopted many alternative strategies. And they're looking forward to doing more alternative strategies. Sewering is not what they're looking forward as their best solution. They're looking for the solution that's going to work well for the entire town, can be affordable, taking advantage of the scientific knowledge that this town has. We have more than almost any other community can think of to deal with this problem. And I have great faith that we're going to be able to do that. I do defend our choice in moving forward quickly. The estuaries were in desperate need of some work done. We couldn't wait. Otherwise, we were going to have more fish kills, larger algae blooms. These estuaries were in dire need of some work done, and we needed to move forward on that to be able to make sure that we actually had a town, not only that we could afford to live in, but that we'd want to.
And we'll stay with you, sir. Last October, the Board of Selectmen received a housing needs report from a consultant hired by the town. What should the Board of Selectmen do to follow up on the recommendations in that report?
The Board of Selectmen has already moved forward in having a comprehensive meeting with the Planning Board and trying to move forward with we updated the local comprehensive plan. We are looking at this package. It's not necessarily limited just to affordable housing. We think that that's a little bit restrictive, and I would agree with that. But housing that is available to a wide variety of people in Falmouth, making sure that people who've grown up in this town can continue to live here, not necessarily at the 80% of the median income, but something that people who want to work in Falmouth can still be able to stay here and live there. And so after that group meeting with the Planning Board, we want to continue to look forward at ways that we can support the Planning Board. We have appointed them to be our representative to be able to support some of the affordable building projects, and we think that will make great progress in that direction.
Thank you. Mark Finneran?
As you noticed in town meeting, we actually voted down some of that comprehensive plan. It was the design was to provide housing for all people in town. I think that went much beyond the scope, and obviously so did town meeting. There definitely needs to be zoning changes. Affordable housing needs to be supplemented in almost any fashion that we can come up with. We need to be creative. I think that we need to be a little more lenient in allowing development of older properties into multi-family units. And I don't believe that should be limited just to the downtown area. I think it should be all over town. One doesn't have to look very far to find people that are struggling in this town, and anything and everything that we can do to make housing more affordable is an absolute necessity. But I think that the plan was a little bit too large and broad, and I think all ideas should be on the table.
Thank you. Mr. Jones, could you give us your 2-minute concluding statements?
Sure. I'd first like to thank the League of Women Voters and FCTV for sponsoring this event. 3 years ago, I was honored to be elected to the Board of Selectmen. For the past 2 years, I've served as the Vice Chairman of the Board. and I am especially proud of the work the board has done to become a productive, deliberative, and thoughtful executive committee. Over the past 3 years, we have made significant progress in a number of ways. With the hiring of a finance director, we have been able to dramatically improve the town's financial position. We have made substantial progress in solving two of the most complex and challenging problems facing communities today: wastewater and drinking water. Our comprehensive wastewater treatment plan will likely be the model for all communities in this Commonwealth, while our water filtration plant will be the envy of many towns. We're moving forward with exciting plans for a new senior center, and we're hopeful about the conversion of our landfill into an extensive solar array project. While we have been successful in many areas of town, there certainly continue to be other areas where we can improve. The Board of Selectmen must continue to make efforts to be more responsive and communicative with the people of Falmouth. To this end, I have proposed to my fellow board members that we hold office hours on any Monday night when we do not have a regularly scheduled meeting. 2 members of the board would be available to listen to concerns, answer questions, explain policies and procedures, and take suggestions for future board agenda items. Since these sessions would not be formal posted meetings, there could not be any deliberations or immediate solutions, but there would be opportunity for open dialogue and transfer of information. Over the past 3 years, the Board of Selectmen has followed the direction of the town charter and successfully worked as a group, and I know that I have helped to develop the cohesiveness and cooperation that this town needs. I have an open mind, and I'm willing to consider new and innovative ideas while keeping in mind the financial burdens on the town. As a teacher, I fully understand the importance of doing one's homework. I have worked hard to gain your trust, and I hope you'll vote for Doug Jones for Selectman on May 19th.
Thank you, sir. And Mr. Finneran.
Hello. First off, I'd like to thank everyone here, the League of Women Voters, FCTV, and the people at home watching, the taxpayers who foot the bill. My name is Mark Finneran. I've lived here for the last 30-plus years. Our family's owned property here since 1929, and I've summered here since I was an infant. I feel that I ask the questions that people want to ask but are afraid to ask. I feel that I ask the questions that would otherwise go unanswered. In many cases, people are afraid to ask these questions. I am not. I feel if I were elected and I sat behind the desk or the table instead of in front of it, I could ask more questions. I could provide for a more open government. I could do more with your town and your money. I love this town. I think it is great. But sometimes I see things that need improvement. Through town meeting, I have brought some of these visions forward. Many, but not limited to, are the comment period, which allows the public to ask any question they want that's not on the agenda. It provides them access to the selectmen and the management. Another one of my town meeting articles provided for a solid waste manager. This position hasn't been filled, but it has been funded. Also, through town meeting, I got the litigation report, something that should have been done years ago and hadn't been done. It provides all information as who sued us, why we sued them, what kind of money was spent. Also, you're going to see this fall, a great surprise. There's going to be about 8 times as much spent on outside labor council. This is too much. There has become an adversarial relationship between our management and some of our town employees. I have great relations with town employees. I think I could help improve this. Another one of my articles was the voting in schools.
We're going to have to close.
When we had 4 precincts at the high school, it's 2 minutes. Your sign says a minute. Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're going to have to conclude.
Okay, easy now. Okay. And I put an article in town meeting to...
No, we have to conclude. So, well, that's it. We're 2 minutes right there, sir. Well, thank you very much. Let's thank you, Mr. Mark Finneran and Douglas Jones, who are running for the Board of Selectmen.
Horrible.
And that really is all the time we have. So on behalf of the League of Women Voters, I want to thank the candidates for participating tonight. And I want to thank you in the audience for attending and watching the candidates at home. Hope you learned a lot from this event. They're going to rebroadcast the forum around 11 o'clock tonight, and then tomorrow around 7 in the morning, and then thereafter. And Election Day is May 19th. Have a great night, and thank you. Thank you very much for talking. Thank you.
that's okay.